Hello guys and welcome to Master Coding channel. My name is Abbas and in this tutorial we are going to continue the complete Android developer course and the Android JetPack and dive into LifeCycle aware. So we have introduced before the Android architecture components, and one of them is LifeCycle aware. We have previously learned about data binding, and in this lesson we are going to learn about LifeCycle aware and build an app that uses and configure these annotations and these LifeCycle module in our applications. Please, if this is your first time here, subscribe below to get the latest tutorials and ensure that you continue with us making tutorials and making new applications every day and every course. So we will try to cover enough ground to present the components and get started. Most of Android applications app components have the life cycles attached to them, which are managed directly by the system itself. Until recently, it was up to the developer to monitor the components' states and act accordingly, initializing and ending tasks at the appropriate time. However, it was really easy to get confused and make mistakes related to this type of operations. But the Android Arc.lifecycle package changed all of that. So, what are these components and how they act with the activities? We have this image and this schema. The Android fragment or lifecycle owner contact with the lifecycle to get the event. So the event, it would be on create, on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, on destroy. We have seen this before on the Android app or activity lifecycle. So if you want, you can go back to the lessons and see how the Android lifecycle works. And contact with the Android lifecycle observer and tell the app or the Android Studio or the system that, hey, we are now on the create method, then or on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, or on create. Activities and fragments have the lifecycle object attached to them. They can be observed by the lifecycle observer class, like a view model or any object that implements this interface. This means that the observer will receive the updates about the state changes of the object that is observing, like when the activity is paused and or when it's starting. It can also be check the current state of the observed object. So it's much easier now to handle the operation that you must consider the framework life cycle. Okay. Lifecycle aware component is deal with three main classes: the lifecycle owner, and the lifecycle observer. We will learn about every component with step by step. The lifecycle. A lifecycle object is an instance that can retrieve information about the current lifecycle of a lifecycle owner that is a fragment or activity. The lifecycle instance provides the information about the lifecycle of the owner in the terms of event and state. Don't worry, we'll learn everything in the detailed manner using the next videos. We are going to create the app that tell us how these life cycles work exactly in details. Basically, the events are dispatched with the respect of the lifecycle owner events, such as on create, on stop, and on start or on resume. We have seen the on create event is called on start is called resume, pause, and on stop. These are the lifecycle events, and these are the activity life cycle. For onCreate event, state is created. OnStart is started. For pause is paused. OnStop is stopped. And similarly for the onDestroy event, destroyed, and such events of the LifeCycle observer. Now, the LifeCycle owner in API 26, the onward the fragments and activities implements the LifeCycle owner interface. It has Android LifeCycle, so it's known as owner of the LifeCycle owner. In other words, any class that implements the LifeCycle owner interface, that is LifeCycle owner. Let's move to the LifeCycle observer. This LifeCycle class, for the lifecycle of the components, we have LifeCycle observer. This LifeCycle of observer is associated with the LifeCycle owner for observes the lifecycle of the activity. Let's understand with a demo. Okay, let's move to Android Studio and paste and try to manage these codes. First of all, I will demonstrate in this video how to work with the app, or what are the steps of the app. And the next video or next couple of minutes, we are going to move to Android Studio. Now, let's create a new empty class and a new empty project. As I told you, the dependencies for the lifecycle of the component are here. If you are using the Kotlin, you can use KTX. And we need to implement the arc and the lifecycle extension and lifecycle version, which is 1.1.1 at the time of creating this video. Step number 2, now we need to create an observer class which will observe the lifecycle for the lifecycle owner and perform the action accordingly. For instance, create a new class and implement the lifecycle observer. First of all, here we are going to implement or create a new activity observer, implement the lifecycle owner observer. See, when you implement the architecture component, that you can implement the lifecycle observer class, and having this annotation on lifecycle event, and lifecycle event. What are these events? These are on create, on start, and on resume. So what the Android Studio will do this will be performed when the onCreate method is called. This will be observed and performed this code when the onStart method is called, and when the state or the event on a resume, this method is called. And also the same for onPause, onStop, and onDestroy event. Here I have created the lifecycle of the Java class for the name of the Java observer, and the class will implement the lifecycle observer. The lifecycle observer using the annotation of on a lifecycle event to keep track the lifecycle events of the lifecycle owner. I know you may be confused by lifecycle observer, lifecycle events, and other things, but don't worry, we will clarify everything in live demo. Okay, and we are going to create the lifecycle observer by attaching it. Now, in the main activity, we are going to get the lifecycle.addObserver, and we are going to create a new instance of an activity observer. Now run the project and check for the lifecycle observer and lifecycle owner behave. Let's apply a filter for the Android logcat and fetch info for the output. Output for the first time. The observer is called, the event is called onCreate, then the onStart, the owner is started, the observer onStart event. When owner is resumed, observer will be also on resume. When rotate the screen, onPause is called onStop and onDestroyed. Conclusion: lifecycle aware components respond to the changes in lifecycle status of the other UI components. The lifecycle class has held the information on the lifecycle for fragment and activity. Lifecycle object uses the event and state enumeration to track lifecycle status. Lifecycle owner provides the status to the lifecycle aware component, and lifecycle observer that registers the lifecycle status to respond and perform the action. Thank you, guys. And next, to keep subscribing and like and comment below if you have any questions or any tutorials you want us to make. In next video, we are going to make an app that demonstrate this lesson. If you are confused, don't worry, we will clarify everything in the video. I promise you to clarify everything. If you have any questions, please list it below, comment in the comments. Please see the special offer in the descriptions below, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download Master Android and Master Android Pro if you want these lessons or written lessons in front of your UI or your application between your hands on mobile. And you can download Master Flutter, these also our applications, and you can subscribe to our benefit from our course with the source code on Udemy with $10 in the link below. Thank you, guys. See you next videos.